Good morning. This is Bill from Curious Cars on a rather, it's good enough. I'm not going to cry today. The weather is probably approaching 70. Not too bad for a Florida morning, but, by the same token, it's almost mid-November. It should be a little bit cooler than this, but apparently it's going to be in a few days, so I'll just have to wait around for that. I just got back from North Carolina. I, got a few cars. I have to deeply apologize for not doing a video lately. I know I've been very lax on that. It's probably been more than a week since the last one. I'm starting to get a bit rusty and feeling withdrawal symptoms, but they're just, not only have I been gone, which I was for quite a few days last week, but there just isn't anything around that I haven't done before ad nauseum or that excites me. It's just not there. So even today, I'm going to do a review on this truck, and that's only because I've mentioned it before, and there's one guy in the comment section who keeps crying that I haven't done it yet. So damn it, here it is, and I'm going to do it. My replacement truck for the last one. But the good news is this. Look, I got 7 cars up there in NC. I'm leaving today to go to another auction in Central Florida where I hope to get another 1 or 2. And these are cars that I think some of you guys are going to like. In fact, my whole purchasing thing has gone from picking cars that I can make money on to instead picking cars that I think would be good on YouTube. So, even if I'm going to end up in some sort of an impoverished old people's home someday, it's fine, because I'm going to have delivered cars that I think you guys are going to like. So that's the plan. So I should have at a minimum 7 and possibly anywhere up to 10 new videos coming up over the next few weeks that I think are going to be good proper stuff that's going to make me happy and hopefully make you guys happy as well. And here today is this truck, which I'll get into. So, in fact, look, this is going to be a fairly short video. I know I say that all the time, but it doesn't always hold true. But in this case, it will. Just very quickly, I want to say the weather in North Carolina was phenomenal. It was in the very low 30s for the few mornings that I was there. I didn't pack for that. I only had a very light jacket, which actually ended up being fine. Thank God the auction was indoors, but if it had been outdoors, I would have froze my ass off. But honestly, I'd have persevered through it, just thinking to myself of all the July weather that I'd put up with this year. So it was great. It was phenomenal. I loved it, and it was absolutely fantastic. Hopefully we get some of that chilly weather down here too. So anyway, look, let me just leap running straight into this truck. And this is a 2006 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD, and this particular version is an extended cab 4x4. And this is the truck that I bought to replace the last truck that I had, my beloved old, it was an '01 Silverado, and honestly, did I love that truck. I knew that I was going to replace it at some point, and I started looking. Every time I went to one of these dealer auctions or, somebody pulled one in to trade in, I'd look it over and I think, okay, is that the one? And frankly, it never was. And then this thing showed up at this little Lauderdale auction owned by a guy named Terry Taylor, who's apparently like the richest cat in the world. He owns everything, just nobody knows it. And this thing was a trade-in at some dealership. There's a bird. I went to pick up a trailer at Peter's other place. Again, when you're at Peter's level, you got places all over. Yesterday, and there were chickens there, and they did attack me, or at least they came at me. And I didn't have my camera on me, or I would have filmed it. I didn't even have my phone. It was in the truck at the time, and I had to flee, but I wish I had. So there's just nowhere that he has that's safe for me, although the animal front has been a little bit quiet this morning. All I just heard was that one shrieking bird. But I digress. So anyway, this truck shows up at the auction, and I think, wow, okay, there it is. This could be the one. I saw it in the pre-sale inventory as I was looking through what was over there, and I was going to run over and get something. And it was basically the same setup that I had, even the same color, even the same body style, with the exception of the facelift in the front. And, you know, that was perfect. I didn't want anyone to know that I'd gotten a new truck. You know, you got to keep these things to yourself. And frankly, when I say anyone, I mean Tracy, you know, my girl at home. She just, you know, I don't know, she just picks on things. You know, she sees something and then she starts giving you these little snide comments. So I thought I could sneak this one by her. As it turns out, I couldn't. Frankly, she's crafty enough to even see the difference, which I really didn't think she would, but she did. But I digress. So I went over there, and I didn't know it was a diesel at the time. I knew it was a 2500 HD. I figured it had the 6-liter gas, which is what I wanted. And when I saw that it had the diesel, I was a little bit iffy on it because I'm just not one of these diesel guys. But it came in at a number that made sense to me, so I bought it. And man, am I glad that I did. I mean, for a couple of reasons. One, I'm not really a truck guy. I mean, I like trucks, and obviously it's all I drive now, but it's not something I grew up with. It's not a topic that I've studied, and I certainly don't claim to know anything about them. But as it turns out, this 06 Silverado, for some people out there, for some truck people, is considered a little bit of a holy grail of diesel truck engineering, and we're going to get into why as we go. So for once in my life, I have lucked out at something that I didn't know anything about. Like, I recently started trading in crypto. As you know, again, if you want to know if someone is trading in crypto, don't bother asking them, they'll tell you. But a friend of mine, Richard, said, man, oh my God, I made, you know, 900 grand on $2. You got to get into this thing. And like, I'm the only guy who loses anything on it all the time. It doesn't matter. I was buying something called Litecoin the other day, and it went up like 80% in a week, and I was the only guy in America who lost money on it. I won't mention how, but it's just obviously some things are not meant for me, and gambling on pyramid schemes is obviously one of them. So anyway, look, I'm not going to dive into that shit. Here, we're going to get in this truck. So 06 Silverado 2500 HD. This was the first generation to use Silverado as a model name. The name itself had been around for quite a while. It was the top tier option package on the previous Chevy C/K trucks. You may have heard of those CK trucks. CK was an internal designation by GM to, you know, the C was 2-wheel drive, the K was 4-wheel drive. I don't know if it always worked out that way in the way they were named, but that's the way it went. And then GMC also had the CK trucks, but GMC in the model before this one switched to using Sierra in the way that this truck uses Silverado. So GMC sort of has an extra run on the Sierra that the Silverado doesn't have. But this is all minutia that doesn't really matter. But apparently Silverado sounded better than CK. And frankly, I agree. I mean, leave the letter number system to the sterile and humorless Germans. You know, let them have their S227s or whatever the hell they're going to have. Bring on the Caballeros and the Cheyennes and the Canyoneros. And, you know, this is the kind of name that I think American trucks and cars should have. I really prefer that. So I'm happy that Chevy went away from the letter number thing and started doing instead the full-on model name with an actual name. And apparently the HDs in Mexico are called Cheyennes, and I don't know why, but they are. So anyway, there it is. Pickup trucks and full-size American SUVs are classified as half-ton, three-quarter-ton, and 1-ton. All of this shit was just, you know, I don't know. It just seemed like minutia to me, but I'll very quickly clear it up because I needed to clear it up for myself. So a half-ton truck was what I had before, which was the 1500 Silverado. This diesel 2500 HD is called a 3/4 ton. I mean, more or less, I guess it was based on payload or capacity. I don't think it actually means anything anymore, the tonnage part, but it's just a system of classification. Then you get into the 3500, which would be like the dually, and that's going to be a 1-ton. Where is that bird? Thing's right over. Oh my God. Taunting me. And then there's the S10s and the smaller pickup trucks. I don't think they're classified as quarter tons, but I think some people do call them that. So there it is. There's a range of trucks. And of course, then you get into these bigger 2-ton, the commercial trucks and that sort of thing. But, for the average pickup truck buyer or even full-size SUV buyer, these are the choices that he's looking at. Half-ton, 3/4 ton, 1 ton. And this thing being this 2500 as the 3/4 ton. This platform was internally called the GMT 800, and it was the first Silverado carefully designed to be more modern and comfortable, but not too different from the truck that it replaced. I mean, you have to remember, Chevy sells a ton of these things. I mean, they're a profit center for Chevrolet, and the prior trucks were selling like hotcakes. So, only because too much time had marched on did they have to replace it. But I mean, Chevy's going to be more careful than a colorblind bomb diffuser when they replace one of these things. The last thing they want to do is trouble their buying people and end up with something that's too outside the box. So they made a truck that did not look too dissimilar to the truck that it replaced, while at the same time having some more modern amenities, upgraded qualities, and, making them more... I mean, this is probably a little bit pre-Bentley truck. You could still get pretty fancy versions of these with leather and all kinds of stuff, but not like today when they're just off the charts, with the massage seats and cool seats and sunroofs and whatever else. Trucks have become the new full-sized luxury car. That was not entirely the case when this thing was being made in '06, although certainly they did have some pretty big upmarket packages. But what an important car for GM. Same with Ford. I mean, F-150, I think, was the best-selling truck and car and vehicle in the United States for many years. And, of course, Dodge also sells a certain number of their the Ram truck. So anyway, there it is. So from 2000 to 07, it was a strong seller and an awfully important car for GM. They come in different sizes and strengths. You can get a regular cab, which, just is the front seats. You can get extended cab like this one, which has the reverse opening doors and jump seat in the back for more passengers. You can get a crew cab that, has 2 full-size doors. Then the different boxes, on the crew cab, you could get a short box or a long box. You couldn't get the regular. I mean, God, this shit is tedious, which this one has. This one in the extended cab, you couldn't get the short box, but you could get the regular box. I mean, for the love of God, who cares? Or of course, the long box or long bed or whatever you want to call it. So, long story short, they do make a variety of different trucks to satisfy the demand. They make 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive. Again, there's the 15, in this generation, there was the 1500, there was a 1500 HD, and then a 2500 HD and 3500 HD. The 1500 series offered either a V6 or like 3 different V8s. The 2500, you could get 2 different V8s or this 6.6 diesel. And the 3500, I think, just had the 1 V8 or the diesel. And someone obviously is going to correct me on that because I'm sure I'm wrong. And this was the GMT 880 HD platform. Anyway, there it is. So this one is the 880. It's a diesel, which I was not immediately looking for, but god damn am I happy that I have now. And it has the ultra desirable, again at the time when I bought it, unbeknownst to me, LBZ Duramax engine. In this run, there were 3 different Duramaxes you could get. This has got to be really tedious for the people who don't like trucks. And this is why I haven't done it until now, but the hell with it, I got to cover it. There was an LB7 engine, an LLY engine, and an LBZ engine. And the LBZ, this one, ran from 06 to 07. In fact, I think mid-year 06. So the first 06s had the earlier engine. And apparently this LBZ has become one of the holy grails of diesel trucking, primarily because it has enough modern stuff on it to make it powerful and potent. I mean, it's got 360 horsepower and like 650 pound-feet of torque, but it's pre that particle filter AdBlue crap, so the emissions are relatively free-flowing right from the factory, and that has made these things pretty desirable. It's a turbocharged V8. It's actually a joint venture between Isuzu, which GM bought a certain percentage of at one point, and GM. I think there's a company called D-Max Limited in, I want to say Moraine, Ohio. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. And they started producing Duramax engines as a joint venture. I think it was an Isuzu architecture that GM and Bosch then improved upon to create the Duramax engines. And it worked out extremely well for them. They, in fact, really increased the share of the diesel truck buying public, and people kind of went nuts for them. And, you know, look, the three engines and the three big makers are all pretty good. You've got Dodge has got the Cummins, which is legendary. Ford has got Power Stroke, which I guess had its issues in the beginning, but became a very good engine. And then Chevy has the Duramax. One of the big differences between them is the Allison transmission, which only the Chevrolet has. And that was a master stroke from Chevrolet. It has to be said. That is one of the things that just separates this truck from all the rest in terms of desirability. Allison is a fascinating company with a, for the love of God, to remember to silence that thing. Allison is a fascinating company with a storied history. Very, very interesting thing. And it's worth looking into. It began in 1909. A guy named James Allison, along with some business partners, helped fund and build the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You might have heard of that. And then he established his own racing team to run in it, and very quickly gained a reputation for engineering and technology. World War I came along, and he dumped racing and started building the Liberty airplane engine, which was a huge part of the war effort and a very important thing. And it spread to them starting an aviation company. Now, after the war, he went back into racing a little bit and actually entered a car and won the 1919 Indy 500. So it was the only time his company won, but he got that under his belt before moving on. And he started doing aircraft technology and making a pretty good name for himself. And it's the aircraft thing that made GM buy the company when James Allison died in 1928. So towards the end of World War II, you've got General Motors, which has owned Allison. They were building a pretty incredible Allison aircraft engine during the war, but they wanted more from the company. So they started Allison Transmissions with the idea that they would start building these heavy-duty drive systems for incredibly heavy-duty applications, amongst them like tanks and trains. And that is where Allison really has now gotten its name. So you're talking about a company that from, you know, for the last 60, 70 years has been building transmissions that are being used in army tanks. I mean, you know, a pretty good sort of lineage to have in this truck. If it can handle a, you know, some sort of an Abrams tank, I'm sure it can handle being used in this pickup truck. So very, very fascinating company, worth looking into. And, you know, if you see a city bus going down the road and you think the guy's shifting gears, or a freight train going down, you know, the tracks, there's a strong chance it's being moved along by an Allison transmission, which is pretty damn cool. So, all right, I tell you what, let me pause for a minute, collect my thoughts, and then we're going to jump right into this truck. I'll go around it a little bit, and then we'll do a test drive. All right, that's better. So, very quickly, when I knew I wanted to upgrade my beloved old 1500, and the reason being I wanted more tow capacity. You know, if I wanted to haul 2 cars up to another state to run in an auction or pick up from an auction, I wanted to be able to do that, and the 1500 just didn't have the beef for it, and I knew a 2500 would. I'm also cheap, so I'm not going to go out and finance a new truck. It's just not the kind. I mean, trucks are insanely priced, and I wanted to be able to buy one and not have a payment on it, and I knew that I would have to stay within, you know, this zone of years, and this is the one that I ended up with. And by sheer luck, it turns out that it's one that's pretty desirable. And apparently it kind of just coasted through the auction without people realizing that, so I got a pretty good deal on it. It's one of the few victories I've had in life. I mean, I can count them on one hand, but apparently it's one of them. And it hasn't panned out yet. You know, bad things could still happen. But the 2500 HD is beefier than the half-ton, this 3/4 ton. The 1500 has a 4-speed automatic. This has the 6-speed Allison. The 1500 has a disc drum brake setup. This one has all discs. 1500 has a semi-floating axle system, which I'm not going to get into the technicalities of that because I barely understand it myself. But long story short, it's better to have a full floating axle system like this one. And the front of the 1500 is a coilover shock front suspension, while this one has torsion bars. So, and on top of that, it has a taller frame, which is beefier, and that's why it has a much higher tow capacity, probably twice what the 1500 does. So, it turns out that it's pretty damn good truck for hauling shit around, and that is why I bought it. This is the third restyle and the final one of this classic series of Silverado, and some goofballs out there call it the CatEye Silverado. And you'd know that by, of course, the way the front end looks a little bit like cat eyes. I was not a big fan of it compared to the front end that was on my old truck, but, you know, I didn't care that much. You know, now that I've had it, now that I've found out that it's desirable, it's affected my mood, and I'm kind of glad. You know, it just looks good to me. And I guess these HD models had, they moved the CatEye to all of the, you know, 1500, 2500, but I guess it's a little bit taller hood and bigger grill on this one to accommodate a bigger radiator. Also, the ride height is taller. It doesn't sag in the front the way that my 1500 did, where it was set up to level itself if it got a heavy tongue weight in the back on a trailer. This one is just sitting up fairly tall from the get-go, which is just fine by me. So it has, you know, they 16-inch wheels, disc, big frame. It just looks beefy, and I dig that, and that's fine with me. Now, this is a work in progress, because I'm always, you know, this is my main source of transportation. This is basically my daily driver, and I like to sort of get it, I won't call it customized, because that, you know, it's nothing Chip Foose is going to work on, but I like to make it my own, and by, you know, adding the little things on it that I like to have, and I've only barely begun to start on this thing. It just isn't nearly where I want it to be yet. It's a work in progress, and the other part of that is people keep fucking it up for me. Riley, one of the snowflakes at work, one of the new snowflakes since Peter left, backed this thing at like 30 miles an hour into one of the steel buildings, and I saw the building before I saw the truck, and I think I have a photo of it I can put in. I mean, he really screwed up the building, and when I saw it, I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna have to do an insurance claim, you know, to get it fixed. And then when I went back and looked, it really didn't have that much. He blew out this taillight, that was shattered, put these little dings and paint transfers in it, and possibly a little bit of a ding in the bumper here, but otherwise it just wasn't harmed. And I say that's because it's a man's truck, you know. That's why that. Secondary to that, I let Peter borrow it to tow something. He let the tailgate fall down on top of the trailer tongue, and then it just started scraping and rubbing all over this thing, denting the tailgate. So people are just cruel, man. You know, here I am, poor old Bill. I don't own a car dealership, and I don't, you know, light my cigars with $100 bills, and still people are screwing up my shit for me. So thank you, Peter. There's the 4x4 decal on the side. There's the extended cab. The headlights, you know, like any old GM product, they've started to get water incursion. You can see the condensation inside. You can see the fading. That's something I intend to address. I don't like aftermarket taillights, you know, the ones that are made from Chinesium. They're not my favorite, so I've just got to find a nice set of original GM headlights to restore, and once I do that, that'll be fine. Paint work, I don't think it needs. I'm just going to let it be what it is. I might even have Dalton, you know, buff it and wax it and maybe even ceramic coat it, so we'll see. What else can we do on the outside? I thought about putting tow mirrors on it because I've got a trailer that, frankly, these don't quite cover. But it turns out that they're kind of integral. They're power folding. They have this turn signal thing in it, and I just don't think I could get a set of tow mirrors that are, I'm going to lose the folding feature and maybe something else. So I'll probably just stick with those and get those things that clip on the end of them to make them a bit wider. There you see the Allison and the Duramax logo. Had these nice big chrome step bars, thank God, because I'm little and that helps me get up in the truck. I guess these are fairly famous Duramax wheels with the 8 lugs and the floating axle design. Had nice beefy tires on it when I got it, so I'm going to keep those. They actually ride nice. They don't make too much noise. In the back, it had a nice big receiver hitch with the, I don't know, what, an 8-way, whatever it is, trailer light and brake connector. It has a factory trailer brake setup, and otherwise all very nice. It does have a spare tire under the bed that I've been considering replacing with an auxiliary fuel tank, which is apparently a bit of a job, but for whatever reason, this thing has a really shitty small gas tank, which drives me nuts. It's like 20 gallons or something. The range on it is just absolutely terrible, so we'll see if we can't fix that. I guess we'll start inside the tailgate. So this is still set up for my race weekends. You know, I do those little Sebring Miata runs, and sometimes I take this, sometimes I take the shitty old motorhome. And the last one, because I stayed with Chris, who's, oh, for the love of God, everything's hard. Chris, who's criminally insane in his motorhome. I took this and all the tools and stuff ended up in the bed. So, you know, there you can see I've got basically everything that I need to fix my broken race car or everyone else's broken race car. Now, some people, it turns out, just don't bring like even an adjustable wrench to the racetrack. So I'm constantly getting guys coming up to me going, oh my God, do you have a flathead screwdriver? You know, like, or some other exotic tool that they need to keep things going. I also keep a couple of coolers in here in case, you know, you need a cooler, which God knows you often do, and everything otherwise is in the bed as needed. I do like the utility of long beds, but I don't like the way they look, so I'm happy this one has the standard and, you know, everything the way it should be back there. I also transferred this, whatever the hell you call it, this folding cheapy bed cover from my old Silverado. And, you know, it's getting a little bit tired and worn out, but I like the way it looks and I like the way it works. It's simple and easy, and that suits me just fine. Have a look under the hood. Also had this GM accessory bug guard on the front, which is just fine. Kept it. Yeah, you can see I haven't detailed under there or anything. I don't really care. So here it is. Here's that LBZ motor that people rave about. 360 horse, 650 pound-feet of torque. Just a terrific engine. It's a you know, diesel, so you end up with the dual battery system. You got one over there, one over there. You know, somebody explained this to me. My friend Richard, who's a bit of a techie geek and knows the stuff that I don't, but he said that Bosch was integral in building this engine, and something to do with a real high pressure fuel injection system that atomized the diesel just right so that it didn't need to glow too much to start, and they removed the diesel clatter from it, which some people think is a shame and other people like. You know, I like it. I don't need my diesels to be noisy, and I was quite impressed at how, you know, you still knew it was a diesel. You can't help that, but it's quieter than a lot of diesels that I've heard. And otherwise, it's apparently a pretty great engine, and that is connected to that Allison transmission and a pretty big beefy rear end and transfer case and, you know, 4-wheel discs and just a very good solid beefy drivetrain all in all. And that's again just fine with me. Looks like I might need an air filter. Anyway, so there it is. There's that Duramax, which is theoretically, this one certainly was made in Ohio, and I think that's cool too. So there it is. Nice, nice. In fact, I tell you what, now I know I keep doing it, but I'm going to get my, we'll do a quick tour of the inside. Then I get my crap inside. So this is that extended cab, which again, I like. I don't like a short cab because there just isn't a place to put anything. And I don't like the crew cab because I don't really care if I have passengers with me or not. Occasionally you might need, you know, at the racetrack we go to dinner or something, so I got to throw guys back there. Otherwise it's just a storage area, and that's perfect. I've got a little place where I have some chemicals and Zippo fluid and, you know, Gojo and trailer adapters, that kind of crap. It's got seating for 3 back there. I've got little pockets behind the seats where I've got a sunscreen or, you know, a Walther PPQ, which is not a bad thing to have there. I can lift this thing up. Oh, God. And then under there, I've got this good, sort of nice GM accessory storage box, which it came with, and I haven't really organized, but in there is a nice spot to put a bunch of crap. I don't have it in there yet, but that will eventually house that shotgun that the other one had. So, but anyway, a nice little catch-all place for stuff, all very lovely. Over here, the door, you guys, all cheap GM crap, but it's made well enough that it doesn't come apart, and that's really good enough. That's you know, this was also one trim package down from my other truck, so I don't have power seats, I don't have carpet. I've got this industrial vinyl shit, which I actually ended up preferring. The only thing I kind of miss is the center console, but yeah, the hell with it. And otherwise, the trim quality is cheap, but it's durable, and that's good enough for me. I've got, you know, I got a poncho, I've got towels, I've got a what do you call that, a tire checker, where you check your truck tires to make sure they've got air in them. And yeah, also a little, what the hell is this thing? Yeah, that's right. I've got a little Derringer in here. There's a Cobra over and under 38. A little big for a Derringer, but, you know, not bad to keep in there. And, you know, if you need to ward off trouble, that's not a bad way to do it. The seats are, you know, clothy, velour-y shit that feel nice enough, and everything pretty nice there. So I tell you what, okay, now I am going to get my crap. I'm going to put it in the truck. Then we're going to hop in and go. All right, I'm back. One quick side note. You can see in the back of this thing, this is the first truck that I've had registered in a long time. In fact, Peter tricked me into it. When I bought the thing, I thought I was just going to run it around on a dealer tag, and you know, he just kept saying, no, you got to register, and I didn't know why. And then I found out because he sold the damn company and wanted everything off the books, but of course he kept that a secret, so I do have guns in this truck. So anyway, I was going down and I had to get a tag, and it's hard to see with the Auto House thing, but I got a support law enforcement tag. I thought that would be a nice little, you know, minimalist statement in today's climate. And frankly, after getting it, I got my first speeding ticket in like 30 years. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to be trading that in for a BLM tag or Antifa tag soon, so anyway, over on this side, we've got the same stuff. You've got the, you know, the door. Thankfully, it has power windows and locks. I needed that at a minimum. Window cranks would have driven me insane. In the back here, you know, more storage, more cups, cup holders, that sort of thing. I've got a rain jacket and little towels. I've got flashlights and, you know, a garbage bag to put stray shit that, you know, you need after the Asian massage or whatever. So everything nice and proper there, and, you know, very convenient and easy. I have to say that this vinyl thing, I was very iffy on it at first, but now I love it. I mean, if this truck ever became some kind of a major crime scene, I could just hose it out, and there's an absolute joy in that. I also keep a little umbrella tucked up in there. The center seat looks a little weird, and that's a story in and of itself. I used to have have a subwoofer set up, a very small one, just enough to give, you know, like Journey and Boston a little bit of oomph to the drums. But now I have this accessory GM box under the rear seat, so I couldn't have it anymore. So Chris, who has an audio shop, said, oh man, they make a center console woofer box and you got to go find one. So I did, and you know, we installed it, and I argued over him whether or not to there were these little bars under it that you could trim down or leave up, and I wanted to trim them because I thought it needed to be, and he said no, you got to have it to put. He put some 8-inch subwoofer in this thing that looks like an Earth orbiting satellite. I mean, it's insane, and there's some 1,000,000-watt amp under this seat, but it doesn't matter. But anyway, because of the bars staying in, this thing now sits up like an inch, maybe 2 inches above the other seats, and it's supposed to act as a seat if you want it to be. But you know, whoever sits there better be Hervé Villachez, or they're going to be hitting their cowboy hat on the headliner. Anyway, let's get in this thing and fire it up. Alright, so when we do that, you don't really even need to, God, that's loud. Turn that down for a minute. You don't even really need to glow plug this thing. I mean, it does glow plug where I don't even see the thing coming on. Where the hell are the glow plugs? I guess the timber, whatever. Okay, don't need them at all. It does have them. I've seen it certainly came out in North Carolina, the little squirrely things, but I've never really bothered using them. Anyway, the thing fires to life and does so without too much of a clatter, although you certainly know that you're in a diesel, and that's, you know, that's good enough for me. All right, I'll give you a quick tour of the inside, then we'll go. So over here, you've got your shift on the fly 4x4 stuff. And very early on in owning my East European neighbor, I helped him move this old motorhome that was buried in the mud. And I did find out the utility of having that. If I'd been in my old truck, it would have just buried itself. You got these automatic headlights, you've got rear bed lights, you've got a tilt wheel, which, whatever, yeah, it tilts. I did put an Amazon Alexa in it. That's this thing that looks like Knight Rider because it stops connecting after a week and I have to reconnect it. You do have a leather steering wheel, which again, I'm thankful for, and a low trim package. It feels nice. You've got multi-function stuff in the wheel. You've got cruise control and wipers. You've got your gear shifter here. And one thing that's nice, I guess, about this year is on the Allison with the 2 overdrives, if I go to manual, I can now control it using this thing. You see I'm moving through the different gears. You know, if you're going up and down hills and the thing's seeking and shifting a lot, you can move it into a manual gear, keep it where you want it, and it gives you more control, which is all nice stuff. You also get the HD instrument cluster, which has the transmission temperature. One of the bulbs is burned out in it over here on the left side of the Speedo. In the old truck, I replaced every single light everywhere on it with LEDs. It was all incandescent. I turned it on LEDs. I don't know if I'm going to do the same thing in this truck. I mean, I sent this thing out, like, to get it done on the other truck. I mean, I went nuts with it, and it was a pain in the ass, and I really don't know if it mattered, so I haven't quite decided that yet. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Up here on top of the dash, just haphazardly flung on. Again, this is all stuff I'm going to integrate someday. This is an add-on tire pressure sensor for the truck. This one that's turned off is for the trailer, and they're little cheap Amazon things, but they work great, and they keep me appraised of my tire pressure. When I bought it, it had this thing glued onto the dash. I don't know what accessory it used to have there, but it looks like it's irritating to remove, so I haven't bothered yet. Unlike the old truck too, which was a higher option package but didn't have it, this one came with a self-dimming mirror with a compass and thermometer, and I'm happy to have that. I did reinstall the Valentine 1 detector underneath it, and over here you've got a dash cam that points front and back. And you know, having all this crap up here, these things and this thing and this thing, and the big antenna for the CB down here, look at that, not capped in properly. Apparently some people on the road think I'm some kind of law enforcement, so you know, they either pull over for me or don't speed around me, which is ridiculous, but that is a very small percentage. It also had this Let me plug all this crap in here. We'll get this going. Oh, God. Where is that? All right. I reinstalled this old Pioneer from the other truck into this one, so that worked out. It also had this little, I mean, this is not the way that I would choose to do it, but it was already here, so I'm using it for now. Let's get a little AC going as well. You know, whatever. It's fine, and it works fine. Richard also introduced me to this thing called Waze, which I'm sure everyone but me knew. And it uses, I think, Google Maps, but adds all this functionality to it, like where it warns you of upcoming road hazards or state troopers, and it has the world's stupidest icon. I mean, I almost can't use it because of that stupid-looking little thing. But it does work well, and I have been using it. The climate control, dual side, works fine. One of the slider lights is burned out. Maybe I'll send that out for LEDs, maybe not. I really miss the center console that I used to have here. It was a nice place to put stuff, and you know, I could have put one in and re-engineered everything, but yeah, the hell with it. I got a coffee mug there and some cup holders. Up here I put the scan gauge in it. This would have been a nice spot for a tuning thing. Apparently these Duramaxes are very tunable, and you can add an engine tune thing to up your miles per gallon or up your horsepower. They'll handle quite a bit of horsepower. I didn't bother because the thing's running so great. It's been such a good truck. It's been to North Carolina 3 times now. I just don't want to screw with it. And the air is freezing. In here, I've got books. I got a FN 5.7. Interesting gun. Made infamous by the Fort Hood shooting, mind you. In fact, Congress tried to ban it because they said the muzzle velocity was strong enough to pierce armor, which isn't entirely true. But anyway, there's all the window sticker I was happy to have with it. The thing was, you know, to me it seems expensive, 42 grand for a truck in 06. But when I see what trucks cost now, this thing was probably a bargain, you know, the way it was set up. So anyway, I like having that. I think that's great. And there it all is. So, all right, what am I going to do? Oh, in here, what do we got? So I've got a center console. This is a spare trailer tire setup in case I tow someone else's trailer. That'll let me, you know, whatever. It'll let me get the TPMS in that. I've got a spare SD card in case something happens. I haven't figured out how to save shit on the SD in the dash cam. So the only way I know how to do it would be pull over, pull out that SD card, and put this one in. And here is, that's nice. That's Smith & Wesson nickel. Actually, I think it's stainless polished revolver. Nice to have in there with the speed loader. You know, can't be too careful with your COVID shit. I've got some reading glasses. There's a card from an old race. They gave me that and some to-go order, and I thought, well, it'd be useful to have utensils in there and pens and an extra pack of cigarettes. So anyway, all very useful stuff in the center console. Let's go for a spin. All right, so, you know, the first time I drove this thing, I thought, wow, okay, you know, you can definitely feel that it's beefier than the 1500. You're sitting up a bit higher. You know the way the women love to, oh, I like to sit up high. It drives me crazy when they say that, but you know, there it is. I'm sitting up high. I don't care. If it was sitting down low, that would be fine with me too. It just makes no difference. It's just a conversational point. But it definitely has a taller ride height than the old truck. You do feel that diesel, although you don't, you know, it's funny. It's like your typical normal loud diesel, but it's had the clatter surgically removed. So you get all of the sort of grumbling, you know, low slung bassy sound, but you don't get the clatter that you usually get from a diesel. And I think that was one of the features of this Duramax. And you do get torque. Way more torque than I had with that 5.3 in the old LS 1500. Way more torque. I mean, this thing is a monster off the light. I really am tempted to tune it and give it, 600, 700 horsepower and start embarrassing Mustangs, but I just don't want to be one of those guys. I mean, I think some of these diesel and lifted truck guys have become the new racers with all this chrome wheel shit and neon in the wheels and underneath, and this Carolina squat where it's, designed for you to run over toddlers, and weird grills with teeth on them and whatever else. I mean, oh, God, that is one reason that I'm just not going to do any exterior. I mean, I'd love to put, beefy wheels on this thing, but I'm just not going to be mistaken for one of those cats, man. I'm just not going to do it. So I'm going to be the old guy who leaves his truck stock, at least in appearance, and that's fine with me. Man, does it ride nice. I mean, as I've often said, when America stopped building full-size coupes and sedans, the people who bought them went over to trucks and SUVs. It was the only way they could get the cars that they wanted. And, of course, that's why these things sell so damn well. All right, so let's give it a little bit of a hammer, which is not something I usually do. Wheel spin. The Allison shifts in a way that's just kind of different from other transmissions, and I'm told that's quite normal. So look, I'm not going to bore you with a big long drive around in a truck, so it is what it is, and there's trucks everywhere. It's what we do here in America. I will tell you again, 7 cars from NC, should get another 1 to 3 this weekend, so I'm going to have some, including I'm not going to tease it because I got brutalized the last time, but I've got a car coming up you guys are going to love, or at least it's going to make up for some past sins, and I think that's important. I apologize for not getting too many videos out. I promise that's going to be remedied soon. We're going to get a bunch going and keep the ball rolling. And once again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for helping keep me going, man, because I tell you, there ain't much else going on that I like as much as this, and as much as making videos for YouTube. So thank you again, and we will see you soon. Not before next week, unfortunately. I'm leaving today for that auction, but starting next week, we're going to pump out some stuff, and I think you're really going to dig it. Take care, and we will see you with the next one.